If you're in Texas and you blew into a breathalyzer, you've probably already heard the line, "The machine doesn't lie." And that's the moment people panic and start thinking they have to plead because they assume that one number is going to steamroll everything else that happened that night. I'm Barrett Dye, a Texas criminal defense attorney, and I've defended a lot of DWI cases where the breath test is the state's whole story. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 things most people never get told about DWI breathalyzers. Specific issues with the device, the operator, and the paperwork that can make the result unreliable, sometimes inadmissible, and a lot easier to beat than the officer made it sound. Let's get right into it. If you're facing a DWI in Texas and there's a breath test involved, you need to understand something immediately. A breathalyzer number feels final. It feels scientific. It feels like the case is already decided. But breath tests have weak points. Real ones. And if you know where those weak points are, you stop treating the breathalyzer like a verdict and start treating it like evidence the state has to prove. So let's go straight through the 5 biggest pressure points. Here's the first thing most people never get told. Breathalyzers are not perfect. They don't work like a calculator where you press a button and the truth comes out. They can be thrown off by timing, by your body, and by what's happening in your mouth. For example, if there's residual alcohol in your mouth from mouthwash, cough syrup, or certain dental products, the machine can pick that up and report a higher number than what's actually in your bloodstream. And then there's acid reflux, or GERD. If alcohol vapors come back up from your stomach into your mouth, that can spike the reading, even when your true blood alcohol is lower. Now add one more thing that matters a lot in Texas. There's supposed to be an observation period before the test where the officer watches you to make sure you don't eat, drink, burp, hiccup, or regurgitate. If that observation period isn't done properly, a breath result can become questionable fast. Here's the takeaway. If the breath result doesn't match what you actually drank, it may not be you. It may be the conditions. And that leads right into number 2, because even if your body did everything right, the machine still has to be right. Breath machines are equipment. They require calibration, maintenance, and proper records. And if the machine wasn't maintained according to the required schedule, the number becomes something your attorney can challenge. Because a small calibration issue can push someone from under the limit to over the limit. And that's the difference between a scary traffic stop and a criminal case. This is why maintenance logs matter. Certification records matter. Error codes matter. The machine doesn't just magically stay accurate forever. If the state can't show the machine was working correctly, that breath test is not as strong as it looks. Now here's the part that really surprises people, because most folks think they had no choice. In Texas, you can politely refuse a breath test. Yes, Texas has implied consent rules, but implied consent doesn't mean you're physically required to blow just because an officer asks. Refusing may trigger consequences like a license suspension process, but that's separate from the criminal case. And refusing can prevent the state from getting the number they plan to use as centerpiece evidence. If you're ever in that situation, the key is how you do it. No arguing, no speeches, no attitude, just calm and respectful. I'd rather not take any tests, or I'm going to follow my lawyer's advice and not take any tests. They may arrest you anyway, but you're not handing them the easiest evidence they want. Now let me tell you the 4th thing, because this is the one that changes how you see that number completely. Breathalyzers do not measure blood alcohol. They estimate it. The machine measures alcohol in your breath and uses a conversion to guess what your blood alcohol should be. But that conversion assumes your body behaves like an average, and hardly anyone is average. Your breathing pattern matters, your body temperature matters, your metabolism matters, your weight matters, your stress level matters. Even hyperventilating because you're nervous can change the reading. And when you've been pulled over by police, nerves are not rare. They're normal. So if the breath result is the main evidence, a strong defense asks a simple question. Was this estimate reliable for this person in this moment and under these conditions? And that connects directly to number 5, because sometimes it's not just conditions, it's your biology. This is the one that blindsides people. Certain medical conditions and medications can cause breath results that don't reflect true intoxication. Diabetes can create breath chemicals that some devices can confuse with alcohol. Low carb or keto diets can do something similar. Asthma inhalers can introduce alcohol-based compounds into the mouth right before a test. Acid reflux can bring alcohol vapors up from the stomach. Even common cold and flu medications can leave traces that affect a reading. So if you have a breath test result that doesn't make sense, you look at your medical history, your diet, your medications, what you ate or drank, what happened in the minutes before the test. Because the breathalyzer doesn't know your body. It just prints a number. So where does that leave you if you're staring at a breath result right now? If a breath test is part of your DWI case in Texas, here's the mindset you need. A breathalyzer result is not the end of your case. It's the beginning of what the state has to prove. And the way you fight it is by testing the pressure points. Was the observation period done correctly? Was the machine properly maintained and calibrated? Were there medical or dietary factors that could skew the result? And does the video match the officer's claims? Do the logs and records support the number, or do they undermine it? Because when the breath test is the state's whole story, the records and procedure are the spine of their case. And if the spine cracks, the case changes. Quick recap. Breathalyzers in Texas have 5 major weak points. They aren't always accurate. They require maintenance and calibration. You can politely refuse the breath test. They estimate blood alcohol. They don't measure it. And medical conditions, diets, and medications can create misleading results. If you understand those 5 things, you stop treating the breath test like a verdict and start treating it like evidence that can be challenged. Next, watch intoxication assault in Texas. Do this to win your case. Because once a crash involves injuries, prosecutors get far more aggressive, and the defense has to start earlier and go deeper. In this next video, I'll walk you through what matters most, what evidence actually moves the needle, and the mistake you cannot make if you want to protect your freedom. I'll see you in the next one.